From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Tuesday, March 11th. Here are today's headlines. Delayed talks for the second phase of the Israel-Gaza ceasefire remain in flux as Israel sends delegates to Doha and Hamas accuses it of reneging on the agreement. Hamas on Monday said Israel had broken the Gaza ceasefire agreement and refused to start the second phase of the deal, appeared to remain along the Gaza-Egypt border despite the deadline for full withdrawal having passed. As part of the agreement, Israel was supposed to have completely withdrawn from the 14-kilometer strip of land called Salah ad-Din, also known as the Philadelphia Corridor, on the 50th day of the agreement. That fell on Monday. Israel's military did not comment on the status of its forces in the area, but sources told The National that some troops remained. Meanwhile, the German government on Monday said Israel's decision to halt aid deliveries and cut off electricity to Gaza could prompt a fresh humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian territory. "10,000 members of the Alawite community in Syria have crossed into Lebanon over the past 5 days to escape sectarian violence. Lebanese security sources said on Monday the group has settled in northern towns. Lebanon now fears that sectarian violence from Syria's coast could once again spill over into its volatile north. The region has already experienced unrest, with Sunni and Alawite gunmen engaging in deadly clashes over the past 15 years. At least 1,300 people, including 800 civilians, most of them Alawites, have been killed in Syria since Thursday. That's according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a war monitor in the UK. It's part of a new wave of sectarian violence that has come with clashes between pro-government troops and opposing armed groups. Damascus accuses those of being loyal to the Assad regime. Iran appears to be sending mixed signals about the possibility of renegotiating a nuclear deal. Iran said it would not negotiate under pressure and intimidation as U.S. President Donald Trump intensifies his maximum pressure policy against Tehran. Iran's mission to the UN said on Sunday that it might consider a request from Mr. Trump to restart talks with the U.S. if negotiations were focused on the militarization of its nuclear program. But on Monday, the country's top diplomat appeared to close that door.
So there's been this interesting kind of ping-pong match that's been going on between the U.S. and Iran over the nuclear deal in the past few weeks.
The National's Sarah Ruthven reports from Washington.
Just to give a little bit of context, in 2015, Iran signed a deal with the U.S. and a few other major powers that put limits on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. This happened during Barack Obama's time in office, and a year later, when Trump came into power, he was signaling that he was going to go very hard on Iran. And about a year later, he pulled the U.S. out of the deal. He signaled that he was going to be hard against Tehran this time as well. But then last week, he did something kind of interesting. He said he sent a letter to Iran saying that he wanted a new nuclear deal.
The back and forth comes after the U.S. over the weekend canceled a sanctions waiver on Iraq's energy imports from Iran. It's part of that renewed Trump policy of maximum pressure, which aims to curb Iran's influence in the region and curtail its flow of finances.
Basically, the foreign minister of Iran kind of hit back almost immediately and was like, well, whatever letter there may be, we're not going to talk to you guys unless you stop the maximum pressure campaign. And the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said basically the same thing. Like, we're not going to talk to you guys because, you're just going to try to put limits on our missile program and you're going to try to, stop our influence in the Middle East. And, it's not going to really help anything. So we're not going to talk to you.
Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi wrote on social media, quote, "We will not negotiate under pressure and intimidation. We will not even consider it, no matter what the subject may be," unquote.
The Ayatollah's remarks came on Saturday. A day later, on Sunday, the Iran's mission to the UN, which is basically the only diplomatic presence Iran has in the United States, put out this tweet in which they said, if the talks were to be focused on the militarization of Iran's nuclear program, we might consider coming to the table. But if it's just about, shutting down our peaceful nuclear program, we're not going to talk to you. And this is very interesting because, it kind of seemed to contradict what other sections of the Iranian leadership had been saying. A day after that, Monday, the Iranian FM foreign minister came out again and said, oh, no, there's no such thing as the militarization of our program. It's completely peaceful. Besides, we're having our own separate negotiations on a nuclear deal with European powers and Russia and China.
That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow live updates at our site. Yasmin Altaji, The National.